This is a vile, genocidal, insane regime of people that we cannot get out of our crosshairs fast enough. At the beginning of the show, we played your explanation regarding what the experience was like going through the detainment. What first inspired you to get involved in this? And what has been your experience like since then in terms of how we're going to continue to build the momentum towards the freedom of the Palestinian people?
Well, I can tell you the reason I got involved, if that sort of addresses both of the issues. I've always seen it as a responsibility that I hold to the Palestinian people who I see as family, as siblings, not just as fellow Swana, which I much prefer to Middle East, Southwest Asia, North Africa, much more accurate, less Eurocentric.
I
but
told you.
As just an obligation to other humans. It seems pretty obvious. But also particularly as, an Arab person, specifically as a Yemeni person, these are kith and kin, like how can we just watch this suffering? And, a lot of Jews will say not in my name, but it's so much more broad than that, like why can't it just be not in the name of humanity, And so when I had the opportunity and I met somebody that works sort of at a high level at the Freedom Flotilla, the first thing I said to them was, when you have an open space, like, call me, please, call me. And that sort of one thing led to another. But in terms of Zionism more broadly, I grew up in an extremely Zionist household. My dad was principal of the Hebrew school. My parents met when my dad volunteered on kibbutz during a time of war, we can call it. And my mom was doing her service. So, my sister and I are like the children of Zionism. And it just never sat right with me personally. It took a while to get out of that bubble in Los Angeles, which is where I grew up. And actually, I had to leave the United States to exit it fully. That's the short version.
I would also comment on that, being that you were from LA, and talk about a tale of two cities. I'm from New Jersey, and if you know anything about North Jersey, I grew up I would say that where I grew up in New Jersey, it was a mix of Italian, Irish, and Jewish. And one thing that I noticed very early on was this sort of victim mindset that people who grew up in comfortable, it's weird when people that actually have ways and means act like they're victims. I don't understand that. But then when I started seeing things in later years, like I didn't understand what the land sales were. Now I do. And do you think, being from the outside looking in, being that you're in a country that when people get pissed off, they put their yellow vests on. In this country, it doesn't seem like we're just about ready for revolution, but I don't think we're as far away from it as maybe people think we are. I feel like we're getting closer by the day. Your thoughts on
that? Yeah, so I don't know how many people of your watchers know that I live in France. So the yellow vest reference landed with them. I don't know. Okay. But yeah, from being born and raised in the United States, watching from afar, maybe it seems a little bit more obvious. I can't speak on what it feels like living inside the US because I haven't lived in the US in a very long time. But it seems close to popping off these days. Every time I come back to visit, especially with the wealth gap growing greater and greater, and just general access to rights that are considered to be democratic just eroding at a faster pace. I don't understand, especially since I've seen more and more what it's like to live in a somewhat socialist lifestyle government, and that's eroding as well. How people aren't doing more and committing to more decisive action to get those things back, or get them for the first time, I guess.
Would you, Peter, ask her about...
I wish I could hear you.
I'll translate.
Okay.
So, what it's like for her with her Zionist family now, how this has been with her Zionist family, that what she's done in her position and all that.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? Je m'appelle. Oh, what was
Very
it like?
nice.
What type of relationship do you have with your family today? Do you have one at all? Because we're good friends with Jordan Cheriton. Jen comes from a Zionist family in North Miami. Jordan comes from a Zionist family on North Shore of Long Island. He has his issues with his father in particular. Jen obviously has issues with people that she grew up with. Thankfully, not her parents, but with certainly a lot of her former friends now. So what's that experience been like for you?
Well, I'll start with friends first, because that's a bit easier. I've been anti-Zionist for a really long time. So the phasing out of people that I grew up with, I mean, a lot of people have been using October 7th as a benchmark. I don't like to do that. Some of us are forced to do that these days just because of news, whatever. But so if we were to use October 7th as a benchmark for losing friends, that wasn't an issue for me because those people had been phased out a long time ago. Maybe, one or two holdovers that I didn't know had such deep rooted feelings sort of rising to the surface, and that became their issue and not mine. But for family, I'm sort of a black sheep anyway with my views. And so I was sort of tolerated in extended family circles for my views. I'd been reporting on racism in occupied Palestine, European colony known as Israel, 48 Palestine, whatever you want to call it. And that had never gone over well. But right after, again, using October 7th as a benchmark, unfortunately, I started to get death threats. My cousins, my aunts and uncles that changed my diaper or whatever, just immediately, you're ashamed to the family, all these kinds of things. But in terms of my immediate family, there had long been a trend of me just trying to open closed eyes, and that wasn't going to happen. So it hit a breaking point. Sorry. It hit a breaking point, and now we just don't speak. And that's very sad.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that? Because this is not unique to your story. This is a very common occurrence with people that, if they choose to see the light, very rarely are they able to see it with being able to shine it on other people that are from that same circle. And if they can't see it, they just choose to ignore it. Even at the risk of knowing what's coming, knowing full well how much worse it's going to get, particularly for Jewish people in the United States, because that's coming. And why they refuse to have a come to Jesus moment, no pun intended, why they refuse to see the reality of what this is, how they've been lied to. This was never about protecting Jewish people. This was all about a settler colonial project for war and profit, period. And why they just refuse to see it.
That kind of reckoning sort of shakes the foundation of everything that Zionists have been taught. And in that moment, I don't even think they would call it Zionism. They would just call it Judaism, right? And it's been so conflated for their entire lifetimes. And it has been since pre-founding, right? Because that was the plan all along. And so for people, particularly in my family, who are embedded in the Jewish community, Jewish education, summer camps, all of it, all the things that would be tokens of growing up Jewish in the United States. It is, you can't show any cracks in the foundation because the whole house will fall apart. It will just fall down, and you can't do that because their entire life lives on that foundation, right? So anytime I would send this article or anything that I would do to try and show not just humanity, because they themselves are sort of hippies, right? They get the humanity part, or sort of, but to shine a light into the inhumanity of Zionism, that you just wouldn't pierce. It wouldn't pierce the cloth.
I come from a mixed family. I have a Jewish mother and an Irish father, and I have always identified with my Irish side much more so. And I have to say, I am extremely proud of my Irish brethren in particular. As I'm sure you know, Ireland has elected not just any president, but a president that believes in Palestinian liberation and that the state of Israel is a genocidal state. And if you ask me, that's one of the more positive developments, but I'm not surprised because Ireland has often been at the forefront of these fights.
Yeah.
And I cannot say enough good about what they have done, especially in lieu of the fact that I've covered Tommy Robinson a handful of times and what's going on in the UK. This is just in with so many dark clouds hovering over us. This is a very bright light painted in green and orange. And I'm very proud to say that my people definitely get it. And I would imagine that you're probably very happy that Connolly won as well.
Absolutely. We had several Irish people on the flotilla as well. And, the history of Irish resistance is recent and strong. And the connection between Irish and Palestinian people is as strong, and they reinforce each other. And, also if you look at like the UNIFIL troops in Lebanon, just the incorporation of them in the region, it's palpable, like they know firsthand what's going on in the region.
Peter Travers wants to know if she knows Tig.
Do you know Tig Hickey?
Did you know Tig?
Yeah, I mean, not personally, but of course.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been trying to.
There you go, Travers. She knew him.
Yeah, we've been trying to connect with him to get on the channel as soon as possible.
We're times.
Well, if I talk to him, I'll let him know.
Tell her I'm a time zone elitist, and that is definitely one of our barriers.
Yes, one of the big issues that we obviously have with trying to communicate with people around the world right now is the fact that you are being extremely gracious to us, being that I believe it's at least 1, if not 2 o'clock in the morning where you are right now. So for you to do that is extremely appreciative on our part. We were actually attempting to do a live stream the other day with a couple of professors over in China, and they had to cancel last minute. And I had just gotten up at 6 o'clock in the morning to make sure that I was not that I get up late, but 6 o'clock to be able to do that and all that good stuff. Yeah, it's definitely not fun. Although I would rather stay up late than get up really early. Do you have a preference between the two?
Like it's 1:30 right now, and that's fine. But at like 3, 4-ish, that's when it gets a little bit tough. But I'll tell you what, not to make anyone sound ungrateful, I am just so happy that we have a connection, like not between us, although it's lovely that we have a connection between us, but I mean physically have Wi-Fi and like,
you know what I'm saying?
But because we were trying to connect on the boat with Palestinian journalists and medics, because our boat was dedicated to medics and journalists. And just anytime, I don't know what just happened on the screen. Is the connection still okay?
I can still hear you. I can still see you.
Okay, great. Anytime it would waver or would disconnect and reconnect, it was just, a blessing when we could maintain it for more than a few minutes. And so this now is like, okay, yeah, we had a couple technical issues, and I'm sorry I can't hear a little bit, but
ask her if she'll come back sometime.
The screen is bright. We made it work, so I don't take it for granted.
Jen wants to know, even though this has been a short conversation so far, we're not done yet, but wants to know if you will come back again, especially if we can commingle with, like, let's say.
I want to talk to her because you're not doing a very good job translating for me.
I'm not? What am I doing?
No, you're not. You're
not translating?
And you're not saying it what I want you to say. You're sort of getting to the point of what I want to say.
Okay, so say what you want me to say, and I'll say it again.
I said, would you ever come back on so I can talk to her at some point?
Will you ever come back on again so Jen can talk to you, since right now she's restricted or you're restricted, whichever one that
is. Sure. I'd love to. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So there you go.
Can I just say one thing about what I said earlier? I feel like I left something out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we were talking about like my background and, I'm Yemeni and everything. I'm also half Ashkenazi, which, the DNA doesn't show at all. My mom's genes sort of ate my dad's DNA. But so people sort of think I'm only talking from one side. I grew up with my dad's side of the family. My mom's side of the family lives 100% in occupied Palestine. My dad's side of the family is Polish Jews. So some people think that, I'm only leaning towards one direction. It's just because I have no access to like the Polish Ashkenazi side that doesn't sort of talk about that kind of stuff. I don't know if anyone else has experience with those kinds of things. I tried to sort of engage with that, but then sort of went to Yemen twice on my own, and now I'm fully immersed in that thanks to my Yemeni Muslim friends. Obviously, I experience it from the Jewish lens and my own research of that, but I'm half and half. So some people just don't understand that, and I thought that's worth adding.